Throughout history, there has been tragic instances where individuals found themselves trapped in unforeseen circumstances, leading to their untimely demise. These unsettling stories, from the bizarre entrapment within pipes to the harrowing confinement in seemingly benign spaces like walls or vents, underscore the profound vulnerability humans face when unexpectedly confined, transforming routine situation, such as a trip to the car wash, into unimaginable and tragic ordeals, resulting in the worst outcome. This video will go over people who have unfortunately found themselves trapped, leading to their death. So let's get into it, with our first harrowing story taking us to Taiwan. In late November of 2021, a horrific video went viral on the internet which showed the moment when a 50-year-old construction worker named Zeng was sucked into a water pipe, leading to his death. At around 11:30 am, Zeng, along with his team, was working on a Taiwan Water Corporation pipeline in the Tansai district. Their job was to replace the pipeline, which was proving tricky. Zeng's job was to knock out a 60 by 40 rectangle piece on the pipe surface, which had already been cut by one of his co-workers. This was most likely to let air out of the pipe, otherwise known as bleeding. Zeng began to hit the top of the pipe with a hammer, over and over again, until it finally went through. Unfortunately, whilst he was doing this, he lost his balance, falling forward towards the newly created hole. He managed to hold himself up briefly, but due to the suction force created by the vacuum, he was sucked into the pipe feet first. Zeng was now stuck in the water pipe. The pressure of the water most likely broke his bones and rendered him unconscious. His co-workers did all they could and they managed to get Zeng out of the pipeline, but it was already too late. By the time he got to hospital, he was pronounced as dead. In 2015, 61-year-old Mary Stewart Cerruti vanished from her home in Houston, Texas. Mary was a reclusive woman who didn't have close friends or family and would often spend weeks inside of her house unwilling to venture out. Neighbours began to worry for her when the mail began piling up outside her door. An investigation into her disappearance was launched, but years went by with no breakthrough and her case remained open. Due to her going missing, in 2017, her house was foreclosed. This is when the bank reclaims the property after a tenant fails to keep up with their payments. It was then sold to a young couple who bought the place, and this is where they made a grim discovery. The couple began to clear out the house and remove Mary's things. When they went up into the attic, however, they noticed something strange. There was a hole in one of the floorboards of the house. When they looked down the hole, they found Mary's body trapped between the walls of her own home. The police were called, and the Harris County Coroner's Office carried out extensive forensic testing and confirmed the remains were that of Mary Cerruti by obtaining DNA from her cousins. But how did she get into the wall? Although the case was classed as undetermined due to her remains being skeletonized, the police believe that Mary fell through the floorboard. A spokesperson for the medical examiner said, "In the attic, there was a broken board that led down to the space. Law enforcement thinks she may have been up into the attic and fell through the attic floor. It's a one-story home with an attic, so she was found on the first floor. There was some space between the walls where a person could fit. Once she got stuck, she most likely died from dehydration." However, others were skeptical. Her cousin, Nancy Stoddard, believed she was put there on purpose. Leading up to her death, construction of a massive new apartment building was going up around her. She refused to sell the property to the developers and spent weeks fighting the city about it. Her cousin said, "I think somebody put her there. I still have lots of questions that will probably never be answered." Her neighbour then went on to say, "The gap in the boards appeared to be maybe 8 inches, and Mary was certainly very frail, but it's hard for me to believe that a person could step on a board and their entire body would go down a crack that is 2 inches wider than a dollar bill." However, the police found no signs of trauma or foul play, and the case was closed and marked as an accidental death. In October of 2023, Jason Thompson's parents received a worrying phone call from their son, in which he had stated that he was on the run from the police. Jason was 36 years old and was a father of 2. After this, he vanished, prompting his family to report him missing. Around a month later, a foul smell began coming through the vents of a campus building at the Macomb Community College in Michigan. Police were called onto the campus, and officers recognized the smell. They then searched the vent, where they found the remains of Jason Thompson. The police issued a report stating, He made a deliberate decision to unlawfully enter the building's ventilation system, entering an air vent not designed to accommodate human access. Once entering the system from the roof, he kept breaking through barriers and burrowing deeper into the HVAC system, traversing a great distance through the ductwork across the entire mechanical room. Ultimately, he came to a duct that was vertical in a downwards direction, which he entered headfirst, getting stuck when encountering a narrowed section. Ultimately died from asphyxia, most likely very soon after getting stuck in the vent. However, his family believed the police could have done more. On November the 7th, a week after Jason was reported missing to the police, they searched the roof from where he most likely entered the vent, but they claimed there was no signs of this. They said, "When you're looking for obvious signs of human entry, like if a door was ajar, we'd have to work with our facilities people to find out where could a person get in. There's not really anywhere for a person to get in." The case was closed and put down as accidental death. What makes this even stranger though, when asked, the police weren't even after Jason, so we don't know why he was on the run. In November of 1987, 3-year-old Shawana King and her 4-year-old brother were playing in the garden of their family home in Queens, Jamaica, when they went missing. Their grandfather Robert Moore and their mother Sidonia King began to search for their children but were unable to find them. The two searched all over the house for hours until they made a grim discovery in their backyard. Robert opened up an old refrigerator that had been put in the back garden and found the siblings trapped and unconscious. He immediately rang the police and 3 patrol cars turned up to the property and transported the children to nearby hospitals. Unfortunately, both of the children were pronounced dead. Due to many children dying in refrigerators and it happening a lot more often than one would think, the law at the time stated that it was illegal to discard or abandon a fridge without removing the door. This led the police to question the two, which claimed that they had moved it into the back garden earlier that day with the intention of throwing it away. The children most likely died from suffocation, and no one ended up getting charged in the incident. An automated car wash is a car wash equipped with machinery and technology designed to clean vehicles without requiring any manual labour. These have shot up in popularity as they are often cheaper and much quicker, however they have also had their fair share of accidents. In November of 2019, a 73-year-old man had driven to the Chevron car wash in Melbourne, Australia, to get his car washed. He drove through, entered the access code for the car wash to start, and sat there for a second until he realised that he had entered the code wrong. He then got out of his car to re-enter the code when disaster struck. Once he re-entered the code, the machine started up, which gave him no time to get back to his car. He ran back to the front door, but was unable to get in. One witness described what happened next. She said that the man jumped out of his car to enter the code, and had roughly asked her to move her vehicle for him to do so. He saw the machine move and started to run. She said, "I thought, oh no, please get into the back seat." He managed to get a foot into his open door before getting crushed by the car wash. He was now stuck between the gantry and his door, unable to move, and was slowly being crushed by the car wash machinery. He was screaming and trapped. When it was over, he was transported to the hospital where he died of his injuries 3 days later. His cause of death was noted as a lack of oxygen to the brain, caused by asphyxia. Chevron was then charged in relation to the man's death. Court documents suggest WorkSafe's claims of safety lapses, including the absence of safety measures like signage, driver instruction, collision detection systems, and limited space due to brackets. They also stated that Chevron could have minimised risks by removing brackets, installing boom gates, and altering the wash bay's operating system. In 2010, Dr. Jacqueline Kotrak had fallen out with her on and off again boyfriend. He wasn't answering her calls and was refusing to speak to her, locking himself in his house. Angry at him, she showed up to his house with the intention of breaking in. At first, she tried to get into his house using a shovel, but this failed. She then came back with a ladder and climbed onto the roof. Little did she know, her boyfriend had already left the property, slipping out of the back door to avoid confrontation. She then made the foolish decision of going down the chimney, feet first. As you can imagine, she then got stuck. She was found 3 days later by the housekeeper, stuck 2 feet above the opening of the fireplace. It took firefighters over 5 hours to remove her body from the chimney, and according to the police, there was alcohol in her system. Her boyfriend said to the local press, "She made an unbelievable error in judgment and nobody understands why, and unfortunately, She's passed away. She had her issues, she had her demons, but I never lost respect for her. As always, this is not an AI channel, I do everything myself, and if you appreciate my work, subscribe, and if you want to go the extra step to support the channel, maybe consider becoming a member. There are definitely some pretty crazy stories in here. Let me know what you think about them in the comments below. As always, thank you for watching.